2026 BMW F 450 GS. The small GS that could change adventure motorcycling forever. What if BMW Motorrad just created the motorcycle that could make heavyweight adventure bikes feel completely unnecessary? Meet the all-new 2026 BMW F 450 GS, and this is not simply a smaller GS wearing familiar styling. BMW has taken the legendary GS formula and rebuilt it around an entirely new 420cc parallel twin engine, lightweight chassis, serious electronics, and a design that looks ready to escape the pavement at a moment's notice. With 48 horsepower, 43 Nm of torque, and a road-ready weight of just 178 kilograms, the F 450 GS enters the adventure bike battlefield with something many larger machines struggle to offer: agility. But here is the question that has everyone talking. Could this lightweight GS actually be one of BMW's most important motorcycles in years? Because once you look beyond the badge, the numbers start getting seriously interesting. The biggest surprise is hiding underneath that unmistakable GS bodywork. BMW developed a completely new liquid-cooled, two-cylinder engine with 420cc of displacement, producing 48 horsepower at 750 revolutions per minute, and 43 Nm of torque at 750 revolutions per minute. But the engine is not just about horsepower. BMW gave it a distinctive 135-degree crankshaft arrangement, designed to influence the engine's character, sound, and power delivery while keeping the motorcycle compact and lightweight. And that matters because adventure riding isn't always about having the biggest engine. On narrow trails, rough roads, crowded streets, and tight mountain switchbacks, too much weight can become your worst enemy. The F 450 GS appears to understand that perfectly. Instead of overwhelming the rider with massive displacement, BMW is betting that 48 horsepower combined with a lightweight platform can create something far more entertaining. Now let's talk about the number that could be the real headline: 178 kilograms fully fueled and ready to ride. That is remarkably approachable for a motorcycle carrying the GS name. BMW lists a 165 kilogram dry weight and 178 kilograms in road-ready condition, while the motorcycle carries a 14-liter usable fuel tank. Suddenly, picking the bike up after an awkward off-road mistake doesn't sound quite as terrifying. Maneuvering through a rocky trail doesn't require wrestling a heavyweight machine. Even parking, turning around, or crawling through traffic can become easier. And this is exactly where the F 450 GS could surprise riders who have always admired big adventure motorcycles, but hesitated because of their size. It delivers the visual attitude of a serious GS while promising a much more manageable experience. In other words, BMW may have created a GS that doesn't intimidate you before the adventure even begins. But lightweight does not mean BMW forgot about the suspension. The F 450 GS comes equipped with a 43mm upside-down front fork and a rear suspension system using BMW's travel-dependent damping setup, with approximately 180mm of suspension travel at both ends. That is the kind of hardware that tells you this motorcycle was never intended to spend its entire life commuting between traffic lights. The standard setup is already adventure-focused, while higher equipment versions bring more sophisticated suspension capability. The result is a motorcycle designed to move confidently between completely different environments: asphalt in the morning, gravel in the afternoon, and a muddy trail before sunset. That is exactly the kind of day BMW is targeting. And with a 19-inch front wheel paired with a 17-inch rear wheel, the F 450 GS strikes a familiar balance between road manners and off-road confidence. Then BMW turns up the technology And this is where the F450 GS starts looking less like an entry-level motorcycle and more like a miniature premium adventure machine. Depending on equipment, riders can get features including BMW Motorrad ABS Pro, dynamic traction control, riding modes, a 6.5-inch color TFT display, Bluetooth connectivity, LED lighting, USB connectivity, and BMW's multi-controller interface. That means the rider isn't simply buying a small engine wrapped in adventure styling, you're getting a motorcycle designed around modern rider assistance and information systems. And the more advanced packages take things even further, with Riding Modes Pro and additional off-road focused functions. This is significant because the adventure segment has changed. Riders increasingly expect their motorcycles to adapt to changing surfaces and conditions, rather than forcing the rider to make every adjustment manually. And then there is the version that could become the real star of the lineup, the GS Trophy. This is where the F450 GS stops pretending it is merely an urban adventure bike and starts showing its teeth. BMW's higher specification configuration can include sport suspension, easy ride clutch, off-road footrests, hand protection, a tinted rally windscreen, an aluminum engine guard, Riding Modes Pro, and Gear Shift Assistant Pro. Suddenly, the motorcycle's mission becomes crystal clear. BMW wants this machine to be taken beyond the comfortable boundaries of everyday pavement. The trophy treatment gives the F450 GS a more aggressive personality and adds equipment aimed directly at riders who want to explore dirt roads, trails, and rough terrain. It looks tougher, sounds tougher, and, most importantly, has the hardware to make the adventure more than just a marketing slogan. But here's where things get really interesting. The F450 GS is not only about off-road riding. BMW designed it to be an everyday motorcycle as well. The 845mm seat height gives it a substantial adventure bike stance without pushing it into the intimidating territory of some larger machines. The compact dimensions, relatively low weight, 14-liter fuel capacity, and claimed fuel consumption around 3.8 liters per 100 kilometers make the bike appealing for everything from weekday commuting to weekend exploration. Imagine leaving home on Monday morning, cutting through city traffic, taking the long way home on Friday, and then disappearing onto a mountain road Saturday morning. That's the philosophy behind this motorcycle. The F450 GS doesn't demand that you become an extreme adventurer. Instead, it suggests that adventure can be built into ordinary life. Of course, BMW knows that numbers alone don't sell a motorcycle. The F450 GS has to look like a GS, and the design team clearly understood the assignment. From the distinctive front profile to the adventure-oriented bodywork and upright riding position, this motorcycle carries the unmistakable visual DNA of BMW's larger adventure machines. BMW itself describes the F450 GS as an authentic GS built to make adventure more accessible, and that identity could be one of its biggest advantages. A rider can step down from a massive adventure motorcycle without feeling like they have abandoned the GS experience. At the same time, someone entering the BMW adventure world gets a machine that feels premium, purposeful, and unmistakably different from an ordinary commuter motorcycle. It isn't trying to hide its size. Instead, it turns compactness into part of the attitude. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Is 48 horsepower enough? For riders obsessed with enormous engines, the answer might sound obvious, but that misses the entire point. The F450 GS is not trying to defeat a 1,300cc adventure motorcycle in a highway drag race. It is trying to create a better relationship between rider, motorcycle, and terrain. With 178 kilograms ready to ride, 43 Newton-meters of torque, a 19-inch front wheel, long travel suspension, advanced rider aids, and a compact twin-cylinder engine, the formula is about balance rather than brute force. And that's why this motorcycle could be more important than its horsepower figure suggests. The real competition may not be other 450cc motorcycles. It may be every rider who has ever looked at a huge adventure bike and thought, "That's incredible, but I don't actually need all that motorcycle." So here's the million-dollar question. Could the 2026 BMW F 450 GS become the GS that changes everything? With its new 420cc twin, 48 horsepower, 43 newton-meters of torque, 178 kilogram road-ready weight, 180 millimeter suspension travel, 19-inch front wheel, modern electronics, and serious GS trophy equipment, BMW has created a motorcycle that looks far more ambitious than its displacement suggests. It could be the machine for beginners who want to grow into adventure riding, experienced riders who want something lighter and more playful, commuters who refuse to give up weekend exploration, or simply anyone who believes the best adventure motorcycle isn't necessarily the biggest one. And that may be the real shock. BMW didn't just shrink a GS, it appears to have rethought what a GS can be. The 2026 BMW F 450 GS is small enough to be approachable, powerful enough to be exciting, equipped enough to be serious, and adventurous enough to make every road look like an invitation. If BMW got this formula right, the lightweight adventure bike segment may never look the same again.